Nthabiseng, a very good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us, and a warm welcome to Prime News on 3.
Thank you for having me.
What's your reflections on today's proceedings? Any, groundbreaking revelations coming out of the trial today?
I think one of the major ones, the concession that you just mentioned in your intro, that the witness has conceded that one, he had been drinking on the day in question, that two, that the cans that were part of the evidence that is before the court were not a true reflection of what happened, which now therefore goes to the credibility of what he put forth in his examination in chief, which means the pointing out of accused number 2, I believe it is, and which means that pointing out is incorrect, or it could not have been done, in the words of Advocate Mshololo, in his sound and sober senses. So how credible can it be that he saw what he alleged that he saw on the day in question? And when he was still being cross-examined by Ndete Toban, he ended up giving measurements of distances between certain things. And then when this came up again under cross-examination with Mshololo, we see whereby this now is also put into question. And in the way in which she addressed the issue of money and having been paid for the photographs of the late Senzo Meyiwa, we are now, I think, trying to discredit the fact that he is saying that there was an intrusion that happened, whereas there may be motive as to why he ended up selling these pictures the way that he did. Perhaps that he might be an accomplice to a murder, or that he was the one who actually committed the murder itself. That is why I think the questioning was going in the way it was.
What then happened to his testimony? Will it thrust the credibility of his testimony into question with regards to the fact that he was ostensibly drunk when he identified one of the intruders?
Yes, it will. The court will have to look at that at the end of the case, to analyze whether or not his evidence is credible or not. And also depending on how re-examination is going to happen, how the state is going to counter everything that came out under cross-examination, to try and basically save face of what happened today and other days under cross-examination. But as we stand right now, the court, I'm sure where it is under the umbrella that this person cannot be trusted at this stage because he contradicts himself at every turn.
Well, when Advocate Tobane put it to Madlala that a higher profile person in society is being protected in this matter, who is this high profile person? And I know that the name of Kelly Khumalo has been bandied about in the public domain. And of course, in the court of public opinion, she was labeled as guilty. So when will she be brought, before court to answer for herself?
I don't know that she will ever be brought in this particular case to answer to any questions. But remember, the state is reserving its decision on whether or not to bring the accused persons that are cited in the other docket at the end of this trial, whether or not to open that docket in its entirety. So where we sit right now, we don't know whether or not the state is going to call the accused persons in that docket as witnesses to this case, or they're going to just open a different case entirely when this one ends, which will not make sense to me because the same evidence, more or less, has been used, as at least pertaining to the forensic evidence, will be the same evidence that's going to be used in the other trial. And already these accused persons have had prior knowledge of that case and therefore have a way to protect themselves come the trial, should it ever happen.
It gets more complicated, does it? Well, Nthabiseng, thank you so much for joining us. We do appreciate your time.